Let's start with a joke, shall we? What's the difference between God and a dive instructor? God doesn't think they're a dive instructor. Nobody is perfect. Humans are fallible. And as dive professionals, if you happen to have the worst day you can possibly have in this industry and find out that you actually are not God, you'll be really glad you have professional liability coverage. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. As always, so great to see all of your smiling faces. Now, it's that time of year again, people. Most professional liability renewals happen in the June-July window. There are realistically probably only 3 providers of professional liability insurance, at least in North America, for dive professionals. Maybe you're just now experiencing the sticker shock of your upcoming renewal fee, or maybe you've noticed your current insurer has increased your premium and halved your coverage amount, as happened in 2021 with one major carrier. As with any major purchase, it is always good to shop around. So today I'm going to be demystifying some of the terminology around professional liability insurance so that you are a more well-informed consumer the next time you shop around for coverage. It's not the most fun thing to talk about, but it is an essential piece of the dive professional puzzle and something we haven't discussed yet here on Divers Ready. And stay tuned for the end of this video when I'm going to be telling you how you can enter to win our giveaway with a chance to win this gear-packed swag bag courtesy of D.A.N. So stay tuned for that. This video is part of our sponsored series of content courtesy of Divers Alert Network. I want to say a great big thank you to everyone who has supported this series from Divers Alert Network, and an even bigger thank you to the team at D.A.N. for supporting our channel so I can keep making these videos for you. I have been a member and a customer of D.A.N. throughout my diving life, long before YouTube came anywhere near my career, and I couldn't be happier than to partner with D.A.N. because our goals are one and the same: to make you a better, safer diver. So if you want to learn more about D.A.N.'s mission or become a member if you're not already, all the links you could possibly need are in the description of this video down below. I should say as well, any errors in this video are mine and mine alone, so don't blame D.A.N. if I mess something up. Alright, professional liability. Let's start with what is professional liability. As a dive professional, dive master, instructor, you have a duty of care towards the people under your supervision, typically student divers, those enrolled in courses for which you are the or one of the instructors, and guided divers, those who are paying you to provide guiding services underwater. Duty of care means you have a responsibility to take all reasonable steps to keep those under your supervision safe from unforeseeable harm and to sensibly manage risk. Whether you think about it or not, you are managing your liability within your everyday job. You give a thorough dive briefing in a secure environment because to not do so would be unreasonably risky. You check on your students' gas consumption throughout the dive because to not do so would be risky. In the litigious culture in which we operate, particularly here in North America, if something goes wrong, the system needs to assign fault or blame. So if a suit is ever filed against you as a dive instructor, whether you are right or wrong, you will need to go and defend yourself. And that costs money, lots of money. And if the result of the suit is a payout to the plaintiff, even more money. Hence, liability insurance. Claims-made policy. Most professional liability is based on what's called a claims-made policy. A claims-made policy covers the insured for claims made from the start date of the policy. So as an example, let's say you pass your instructor exam January 1st, 2024, and you buy a professional liability policy for $1 million of coverage that same day. The next day, January 2nd, 2024, you teach your first class and it goes horribly wrong. A claim is brought against you for $1 million. Are you covered? Well, that seems pretty simple, and the answer is yes. Let's extend that example. As often happens in scuba diving, what happens if I train that first student, January 2024, right after my instructor's exam, and I certify them with my name and my newly minted instructor number, and then 2 years later, January 2026, and half a world away, that ex-student of mine has themselves a dive accident and claims against me that they were not well trained. Am I covered? Well, that's where retroactive coverage comes in. Retroactive coverage. In this example, a claim is being brought following a dive accident that happened in 2026, but claiming that the student wasn't trained properly back in January 2024. As long as your policy for 2025 and 2026 have a retroactive coverage date of the start of your first policy, January 2024, you are covered. So retroactive coverage, also known as prior acts, covers you back to the start of your initial coverage. So if you have a 20 plus year career in scuba diving instruction, you better have retroactive coverage for prior acts going back to your first day on the job. In other words, retroactive coverage covers you for the date of the incident. In this case, the training, not the date of the claim. Okay, but what happens if I took 2025 off and I let my insurance lapse because I wasn't planning on teaching scuba that year? Well, that's what we call gaps. No, if your insurance coverage lapses for even one day, you have a gap in your coverage and your retroactive date is reset to when you pick your insurance back up again. Everything before that date is no longer covered or considered a prior act. Using the same situation as above, you certified someone in 2024 who brings a claim against you in 2026, but this time you took 2025 off from teaching scuba to work on a home remodel or something, you would still need to purchase liability insurance in 2025 to maintain continuous coverage and to still be covered against future claims from incidents that happened in 2024. Now, I can't stress this enough. You need to understand how long your new policy takes to renew. If you wait until the expiration date and then renew, and it takes a week for your insurer to write your new policy and issue it to you, you have a gap in coverage, and all that coverage you paid for in the previous years is down the drain and you are exposed. Now, no surprises here. I have my professional liability insurance with D.A.N. D.A.N's policies take up to 48 hours to process, and there is no grace period. So I have my calendar reminders set to renew my professional liability weeks before my current policy expires. So my new policy kicks in as soon as my old policy expires. Additionally insured. This is a big one for me. I am an independent instructor. Yes, I have a brand and a website, but it's just me here. I'm not open to the public, I don't do retail, and I rely on third-party operators to conduct my business. I have a local dive shop whom I take my students to for gas fills and for boat trips. I have a different local dive shop who have a pool. They rent space to me in when I need confined water. Those local dive shops are my additionally insured. In other words, if I'm conducting my business on their property and facilities and something happens resulting in a claim, they are covered under my policy. The only way you can operate like this is if you have a registered business, hence Miami Technical Diving LLC. Some insurers charge an extra cost per additionally insured. D.A.N does not. Additional premiums. The next thing to consider is what additional premiums do you need to be covered for, and are these included or will these cost you extra? So for example, I rent dive equipment to my students, I teach technical diving, and I teach rebreather diving, all of which may be considered additional premiums outside of the normal coverage. One nice thing about D.A.N is that teaching CCR and technical diving does not increase my premiums as long as I am an active instructor for these courses in good standing with my agency. Continuing education for dive professionals. One more thing to know about D.A.N's liability insurance is that they have recently launched the industry's first continuing education program for dive professionals. They partnered with my buddy Tec Clark to develop the course, and they're offering D.A.N members an additional 5% off of their annual liability premium for successfully completing the hour-long e-learning course. I've taken the course and it is packed with great information. It's now available on D.A.N's e-learning platform, so be sure to check that out before you renew your coverage. I could go on, but I think that covers the major considerations you need to understand when shopping around for your professional liability. And please shop around. You will be amazed at the differences in coverage and premiums. And whilst you're shopping for your professional liability policy, here are some questions you might want to ask yourself and your insurer. Will adding additionally insureds increase my premium? Are prior acts included in the policy? If so, do I have to delegate my retroactive date? And if so, will that cost me more? Am I covered worldwide? If I lead a trip to Truk Lagoon and there is an incident, am I covered there? What additional premiums do I need? Will these cost me extra? You can, of course, learn more about D.A.N's professional liability insurance through the links in the description of this video down below. Now, to enter to win this safety gear pack swag bag courtesy of D.A.N, all you need to do is click the link in the description of this video below and follow the directions from there. One lucky winner will be chosen at random and contacted via email. May the odds be forever in your favour. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thanks again to D.A.N for partnering with me and for bringing you this content. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you in the next video. Dive safe, dive often.